Now, good evening. So we are trying to do some kind of or a kind of project today. This was the assignment I gave out, but as I said earlier on, none in this class did this homework. Only David submitted and presented. Now, this project is not best practice. The aim of this project is to test your concept knowledge of array. Let me write it out. Is to test your concept knowledge on array, object, loop, conditional statement, um, data capturing, and what's it called again? JavaScript, mm, manipulation. Let me just use the word manipulations. So, which is event handling, right? So, and also the purpose is to test your analytical mind, of course. This is sacrosanct. In all the assignment given, this is always tested. Your analytical mind. Want to see how your thought flow process looks like, and so on and so forth. So now, let me just give an overview of what this project is all about. There is a form. This form, user registers here or fills this form and clicks submit, right? It can be user or maybe the system. In this case, it appears to be the system administrator, the system admin. Since, how do I know system admin? Because of this information here is just for the administrator to be aware of the count of students registered. So now the personal details of the students are collected here, right? And once I click submit, right? After registering, because the moment I put the first students here, I click submit, I will create an object, and this object, I will now store it inside an array. So the array will now hold as many student objects I'm going to submit. In this case now, I have registered 5 students. So I will have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 objects here, right? So once I am able to save this into a container called the array, then once I'm done registering students, I will now click report. The essence of this report is to summarize, to give a summary of the number of students, registered, the count of females, because the school owner or school administrator would like to know how many females we have in the school, how many male do you have in the school, and probably the average age of all the students. Is just to give a summary of the number of students registered and get some vital information out of the data is saved in the array. So that means that once I click on this report, I will now fetch all the information. I will derive the information I need from this data here. I will now populate into this other second form. You will observe that presently you are not seeing this form. This form is not being displayed, it's hidden. Only this form is being displayed. And I want you to pay attention to this address. You will see that once I click report, this address will not change. It's not going to another page, right? It is still within the same page. The only thing is that I used this JavaScript to first hide this form. Then by the time I click report, the JavaScript will now hide this form. I will now display this form with all the necessary information required. So that is an overview
This big pot doing inside the small you. This big pot inside the fridge.
So that is an overview.
It's not nice now.
Of what the project is all about. So is there any question on that before we go into detail? Is there any question on what I just explained here?
No, sir.
Okay. So the moment I click report now, I want you to watch, you will see that this will not change to any other page. Click report, you can see I'm still on the page. It's just that the other one is gone. Now I have the student report. I have student count 5. How many male students do I have? I have 2. How many female students do I have? I have 3. And what is the average age? 23.6. So that is what we are going to deal with tonight. And like I said earlier, I won't go into HTML, CSS. At this stage, I expect that we do not have any problem with that one. So since we are talking about JavaScript, so I'm going to focus on that JavaScript. I'm going to let me bring up this one so that my stuff can run right here. So now, let me just put this one down. I will create a fresh one so that it won't be as if I'm just using this to explain, right? Let us do it together so that you can follow all along. So I'm going to create another file. I will say homework.html. So that is my new file. So what I will do is this. I'm going to copy the undo. What did I do then? I'm going to copy the HTML out, extract it out, then I'm going to delete this. I'm going to delete the JavaScript. Let us start from scratch. So now I've deleted that. So this is the CSS I created, and this is the HTML. So let me run this. Open live server. So you can see the two forms standing side by side, right? It's all because I used the div, then I used what's it called? Flexbox. You can see the yes. So like I said, I'm not going into detail. So into that. So let's go. So I'm inside the body. I'm going to write my script tag. I want to write it inside the HTML. I could have decided to create a different file for this my script. Then I will now attach the script into the HTML right here, but I want to see everything in one file. So now let us go. The first thing is I need to make this form disappear. I only want to see registration, the student registration first. So how do I go about that? Who can help me out? I want it to be interactive. I only want the student registration. This is the student registration here, this one. And I have a class inner container data, and this other one is what? Is a student report. And if you look critically, you will see that in the student report, I have a class here for the student report, this one, but I've not added the class here. But I can add this class to this div, so that the purpose is that I want the display to be set to none. So what am I going to do? I'm going to grab this div. The entire div is what? The student report. So I will say document dot query selector is a class. So I'm going to say dot this student report. This student report. Now this code permits me to, it's like I am kind of latching. Where is the pencil? It's like with this code now, it's like I've undone, I've grabbed the entirety of this div. I've grabbed it. So I can now do whatever I want with that div. So now what do I want to do? I want to add a class to this div such that this div will disappear. So I can do that by calling on the class, this class list, you can see is a property, and it has another property on it called add. And this method, you can see, is a method now. So I can add any class to it, and the parameter must be a string. So I will put it inside a string. And what is the class I want to add? I want to add um, this one, student. Is it display? So I'm going to add that. So if I go and refresh, by now it should have, you can see now it's gone. Is there any question in what I just did?
Mister, could you go back, please?
Let me know when you are through.
Oh, okay. Understand.
Okay.
Okay.
You okay, right?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Okay. So what is happening behind the scene? If I go to the back end, you will see that you can see a class student report display has now been added to this div. If you look at the code, you will see that there's no class here called this student report display. It's not. This is a div. There's no class. The only class I have here is the student's report, right? Which is being used for styling. But now I am using JavaScript to add a new what class in there, as you can see. So, and that's now removed the other form you were seeing initially. So now, having achieved that, what is the next thing for me to do? I want to fill a form, this form. I want to fill this form. Right? And once I've filled this form, I will want to click submit. If I click submit now, nothing is being done here. You will not, no activity, because I have not added any form of event listener to this submit button, right? Button. So what I will do now is that I will create a click event. Now, if you look properly here, this is the button, submit button. I'm adding the click on click button to that input element. This is the click event, right? And this now is the event handler, which I am yet to define, is a function. So I will now come here, create a function such that function, let me just copy the name. Such that once I click on this submit button, this event we now call the student data function, which is this one. So, and what what does the function do? It carry out certain instructions in order to achieve a certain goal. So now the goal is that what am I trying to achieve? Once I have the data here, right? Once I have the data right here, and I click submit, this should be an object should be created where I can do what store this data inside that object. So I will come here. I can do it in different ways. I can create function constructor. I can create an array because the object will be stored inside an array, right? So let me go through the array. I will say let array of students, array of students equal that. So I've created this array, right? Now, I will need to now find a way to save that data inside here. But I need to collect the data first. How can I collect the data? This data, once I click submit, I should be able to collect this data. So first, I will need to create an object. Let's say okay, I don't need to create it inside here. Do you know why? The reason why I'm not going to create this array inside that place is that I don't want such that when I call this function, it will now erase all my data, right? Because okay, let me demonstrate it to you now. Let me just demonstrate to you. If I do not put it outside and I say, okay, this array of students, push one into it, for example, right? If I run, okay, let me then after that display the data inside, or okay, display the array. No, let me use console.log. Console.log CLG array of students. So console.log it. I should expect that data to be inside. If I click on submit, let me go to the backend. Console.log, the console, you can see one array, one item inside an array, and the value is 1. Now, you will think that if I click again, it should add another 1 to make it 2 items, but it won't be 2 items. The reason is this. The first time I clicked, it actually pushed that 1 into this array. When I clicked again, it will call this function again. And what will happen? The initially stored data will be erased because I am creating a new array. And now I'm storing the 1 again. But if I take this out, paste there. Now, I want you to pay attention to the console. If I click the submit button, you can see 1 item right there. If I click again, now you can see 2 items, 1 and 2 items. If I click again, you will now see 1, 2, 3. It is no longer erasing the array because the array is no longer, this new declaration is no longer within this function. So now, before I can push the student data into this array, I should be able to collect this data. And how do I collect it? I will create an object. I will call it student students object. Then I will create property. Let me just call this one first name. First, let me give a very simple stuff. First name. So now, how am I going to pass data to this property? I can pass data to this. What happened? Okay, it's because I've not completed this. So I need to capture this data from this first name. How do I capture this data? I will use the document dot query selector. And what selector do I want to target? This ID. I want this ID. So I'm going to copy this one. And in selector, we use the pounds to signify an ID. So document dot query selector, the ID, then dot value. I want the value to be saved inside this first name. Now, let me just stop there first, and let's see whether we can push this one now into this array. So I'm going to store this object into this array, push it into the array. So let us display the content of this array after we have done that. So let me use my name, and once I click on submit, I should see an object here. If I expand it, you can see my name. If I put Mary here and I click submit, you should see two objects now here. If I expand it, you will see my name, then the second object, Mary. So that is how I will keep populating that data inside the objects and array, respectively. Is there any question before I move on?
No, sir.
Okay. So it is loud and clear.
Yes, sir.
All right, good. So now I've been able to capture the first name. So I want to capture the last name, age, and the sex of the student. So now I will create a property L name. Then I'm going to do just the same. The only thing I'm going to that will be different is just the selector, which in this case of last name here, this is the last name. It is test last name. So I'm going to replace that. Then what is the next thing there? Age. Age. So I'm going to copy again, just to save me typing. Then I will get the ID of the age, which is test age, TST age, put it right there. Then the last one is what? The sex. So sex, then is it male or female? So I'm going to get this also. Then I will get the ID for that likewise. So now I'll be able to capture this data for first name, the last name, the age, and whether it's a male or female. So let us run our code. If I try it again, Tola, John, 30, male. Once I submit, you can see now I have my data. If I do another one, and I submit, you can see two objects, the first one and the second one. Is there any question?
No, sir.
No question. Okay. What is the time?
No, sir.
All right, thank you. Let me check the time because we started late. And I don't want to be too far. Okay. 4 minutes to 9. So now the way I've captured my data is very clear to you, right? So now the next thing, after each time I am capturing the data, I want to display something here so that I will be aware that the student data is being captured. 1 student registered, 2 students registered, and so on and so forth. So now I'm going to come here and say you look at this p tag here, registered students. So I'm going to target that one. So I will say document. I will say let registered students, registered students, so documents, dot query selector, then it's an ID, pound that. So hold on. Okay, it should be the other way around. It should be the this one dot value. Is it the value? No, it should be test content. It's a P, yes. Dot test content. Document. See, I missed you. Document. Let me comment this one out first. So document dot query selector, then dot test content. So let me just try to see whether I can put something there. Hello. Just as an example, let me just call it's not being displayed. Why is not being displayed? Let me see. Oh, okay, it's inside the function. It's inside the function. So I need to click on it. Once I click, you can see the hello right in there. So okay, so then by that I know that I can add content to the P element right there, which is this P element. Where is it? This one. So now let's go on. So I need now to be able to determine how many data stored inside this array of students. And how do I determine that? Simple. I will just use array.length. Right? I will just use array.length, but let me push it here. Array.length. So I will push it right there. So I'm now able to capture the number of students registered. Remember, each object represents this object represents 1 student. So if I count the content of this array, I can determine the number of students. So now I can say that dash students, which is registered student. So number of students registered. So if I go back, let me just keep clicking. 1, 2 students, 3 students, and so on and so forth. You can see. So I'm able to get that one. But if I refresh, if I register the first student, let's say Tola, Bush, 22, male, and I say submit. Now look at it says that one student, of course, Tola, Bush, 22, male, is registered, but this is grammatically wrong. It should have said one student registered, not students. So let's go and correct that. So we should we should find a way how to manipulate this stuff here such that we test if this is 1, if the number of students registered is 1. So how do I do that? I hope you can remember ternary operator. We treated this way back in JavaScript. Ternary operators, we test a condition, comma. If you test this condition, now it will now return this value, maybe say answer, for example. Answer. If this is true, right? The condition, if this condition here is true, then whatever is here will be returned. But if it is false, whatever is here will be returned. Maybe no data. No data will be returned. So now I need to test if this count of students is 1. If it is 1, then I will use students, not students. So let me clear and go back. So here I'm going to use my ternary operator, which is this one, number of students registered. So question mark. Now, is this 1 equal to 1? If this is equal to 1, right, then say this number of students, not students, because it's 1. If it is true, 1 student registered. But if not, if it is false, I will say this number of students. Let me copy this again. And I will paste it here. Now this time I will just put S there. So if it is 1, it will now say 1 student registered. But if it's not equal to 1, maybe 2, 3, let's say 2, it will now say 2 students. You can see the plural form there. 2 students registered. So let's go and practicalize this. If I just put my name, right, and I click submit, 1 student registered, not 1 student registered, and I have my data in there. If I take the next one, for example, and I click submit, I should see 2 students register, and you now see the 2 student objects here. Is there any question? I'm going to stop here today because of our time. I don't want it to get too deep into the night. So this is 905. Nigerian time, 8:05 UK time. So is there any question in what I've done so far? Is there any question?
I don't think I have any questions because
Okay. So
but
no question.
no,
Okay. So is it observation? Do you, do you did you observe anything?
no.
Okay.
Sorry about the background noise.
Okay. Okay. So you can mute, Joshua. So now
Pardon?
you can mute your mic. Mute your mic. So I'm going to stop here today. So let me just recap. I needed to create an array. So, and two, I needed to make the second form disappear, right? Then when I click that button, submit button, it will call this function. And what is this function doing? It's creating an object from the data, right? And then pushing that object into this array created here. Then I'm now using the array of student.length to track the number of students being registered. So register student, if it is one here, so if it's one, then I want you to say register students, so number of students register. If it's one, you say one student register. But if it's more than one, then you say two students. You can see the plural form there. Two students registered. Then you can print the array so that you can have visibility to what you are doing every now and then. So, in Mary, is there any question? Okay, Mary is disconnected. Okay, Ademola, any question?
No, sir.
Okay, so I've asked Joshua before. So in the absence of any question, so I think we can call it a day here. Let me quickly pause this